Season's greetings, everyone. You're tuned into our vessel performance info webinar combining human expertise with AI in voyage optimization from our sponsors, StormGeo. Joining us today is StormGeo's head of sales for Germany and Central and Eastern Europe, Till Braun, and business manager plus RoRo and special vessel business unit lead, Todd Lanouette. If you have any questions for them, please leave them in the Q&A section for answering later in the event. Here's Carl Jeffrey, founding editor of Digital Ship, to explain more. Over to you, Carl.
So we're going to talk today about better ways to combine human expertise and AI when doing voyage optimization. We're talking about this because we want to get the benefits of AI while making sure we always have people involved, because there's lots of risks if we expect captains to follow routes generated by AI without any people in the loop. Our speakers today know a company that did that. So the captain was given a route that went through a strait in Japan that can get frozen in winter. And when the captain tried to send a photo to the routing company showing it was frozen, there was no email address to send it to. And if a captain declines the proposed route for safety reasons and chooses their own route, it might not be the best one. So if we look at the strengths of machines and people in the big picture, we might say that a computer can generate route options optimized for the lowest fuel consumption or voyage time or potential weather impacts. And a person can verify the route is safe for the type of vessel, or minimize the likelihood of further route changes, such as if the weather forecast changes, or minimize the risks of piracy attacks. So we can say machines are better at optimizing, but people are probably better at maintaining resilience. So our company presenting today, StormGeo, employs over 300 operational support staff, supporting mariners and route planners. Our talk today is going to be given by Till Braun. He's Sales Director North Europe with StormGeo. He has a chief engineer license and was formerly at Germanische Lloyd and DMVGL. He's based in Hamburg. And Till is going to be joined for the Q&A with Todd Lanouette, who's the route analyst manager with StormGeo. He specializes in RoRo vessels and special vessels, and he's joining us today from Aberdeen in Scotland. So we're going to have a talk of about 20 to 30 minutes, then we'll take your questions. And I'd like to invite Till to start his talk.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the invitation. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to speak in here. Like I said, like Carl said, Till Braun in Hamburg, working with StormGeo since 6 years about, and I'm accompanied by the brain, I would say, by Todd, who has forgotten more about routing than I would ever learn. Yeah, so just lean back and listen to what we have to say. It shall be not so much an advertisement about the capabilities of our company, which is well known throughout the globe, but it's more a general view on things. And we are ready to answer your questions afterwards. So let's go, combining expertise. And we start with some mega trends, just to give you an idea what we talk about. Mega trends in shipping is that when we look at the world around us, when we look at things that interrupt our well-being, it becomes more and more natural disasters and extreme weather things. And these are accounting for almost 60% of all business disruptions. And now, keeping in mind that shipping does 95% of the global transport, and you then see that 25% of all shipping business interruptions are due to inclement weather, there's definitely a need to look at weather while you sail, before you sail, after you have concluded a voyage. But also what comes on top is extremely more awareness about the environment. And if you look at the challenges, how the shipping industry themselves see it, it is that also decarbonization of shipping and navigating new environmental regulations is now ranked as the top 2 issues facing the industry over the next 10 years. And of course, weather and weather-related is still be amongst the top 10. So what and why? Why should ship weather routing be considered every time you do a voyage? Finding optimal routes on ocean voyages, and this is what we in this moment talk about, but it could be also coastal shelf, forecasts of weather and sea conditions, ship characteristics for the specific transit. We all know not one voyage is like the other. Every voyage is different. Every voyage has its individual characteristics based on trim, on loading condition, on draft, on speed of a ship. And the type of cargo, it makes a difference whether you have windmill blades or dry bulk, wet bulk, containers, whatever. And this ship weather routing needs to be done to achieve the maximum safety for cargo, ship, and crew. And still, for most of the routing companies, especially for us, I can say safety comes first. And what is then a voyage optimization? People talk more and more about not route optimization anymore, route advice, but more voyage optimization. And we see the voyage optimization as the process of planning, managing maritime journeys to achieve the safest, the most sustainable outcomes. And it leverages advanced tools and data analytics and real-time information and all this to optimize the entire voyage. So it's about time, it's about fuel, it's about emissions, it's of course about weather and the cost, and in the very beginning, the safety. So the key components of a voyage optimizations are planning of a route. So identifying the most efficient and safe path, considering weather, ocean current, and traffic. It's about, and all this given to the voyage-specific conditions of that vessel in that voyage. Fuel efficiency, minimizing fuel and therefore emissions to reduce cost. Real-time adaptation, always be able to adjust routes based on dynamic conditions like changing weathers or port schedules. Regulatory compliance becomes more and more important. So ensure adherence to emissions and operational standards, and again, safety, avoiding hazards, including severe weather or geopolitical risks. Any route optimization, and if we look at route optimization versus traditional routing, it is client specific. The targets are changing commercial goals on routes. Vessel-specific criteria, draft-specific, speed and consumption analysis up to 0.5 knot steps. Ensure safety, machine learning and artificial intelligence backed up by operations and service support personnel, like Carl said already in the intro. You need to have people who back you up, whom you can call, where you can get advice about the weather and its development over the next day. And regulatory compliance, be it CII, EU ETS, Fuel EU Maritime, MRV, local regulations, we all know it. It becomes more and more. So how does this optimization go? Before the planning, before the voyage, the optimization starts already very early in voyage planning. So it's about fuel consumption, emissions forecasting, utilizing the tools and advanced analytics that routing companies have to estimate fuel usage and associated emissions for the proposed routes. So building scenarios, what happens if I route the vessel this way, if I go that way? if I go this speed or that speed. We look at route and weather assessments, so we evaluating the potential routes based on real-time and historical weather data. Cost evaluation, calculating total voyage costs, including fuel and time charter equivalents, and aligning this with the commercial goals that are given to us by the operator. Regulatory compliance, ensuring that proposed plans meet international and regional regulations, such as IMO's EEXI, CII standards, or EU ETS, or now FuelEU maritime guidelines. During the voyage, we are looking at dynamic weather routing, so adjusting the vessel's route based on real-time weather updates, avoiding adverse conditions. Fuel efficiency management, monitoring and optimizing the vessel's speed and engine performance to reduce fuel usage and emissions. The elderly generation might remember that before common rail engines, we used to operate on long ocean trades, many vessels with blocked fuel racks, so that we only allowed a certain fuel rate to be consumed by the engines, and then adjusting trim by reballasting the vessel, of course, having changing speeds to that, but fuel efficiency management is still a very important topic. We always need to look at regulatory compliance, so ensuring vessels adhere to emission and operational regulations throughout the journey. Bunker optimization. Another topic that gets more and more attention, which is very, very important. Companies like StormGeo have their own bunker management and bunker purchase platform already, where routing is integrated into it, because you want to carry cargo, you don't want to carry fuel, but you need to have the right fuels on board when you go into, for example, EU waters where you have emission restrictions, where you have to pay penalties when you produce too much greenhouse gas as of January 2025. So bunker optimization during the voyage means plan bunkering, combining competitive market pricing with minimal route deviation. And last but not least, streamline port arrivals, synchronizing the vessel's arrival time with port schedules to minimize waiting times and optimize turnarounds, of course. After the voyage, you want to review the fuel consumption, the emissions, the time taken for the route compared to the initial plan. You have to learn from it. Evaluating how weather conditions influence the voyage and whether the chosen route was really the optimal one. And do a regulatory compliance review. And after all that has been done, do a cost and revenue analysis. And where comes the synergy between human expertise and technology or artificial intelligence? There are many opportunities of automated voyage optimization solutions. And there are some people already in the market who offer these automated optimization solutions. Some opportunities are integration of data from multiple sources. So combining information from various systems that enable to have a holistic view of operations or performance of a ship. This has challenges where we will talk about. You get real-time insights on vessel performance, so you can monitor a vessel's operation in real time to detect potential issues as they occur. Artificial intelligence and predictive analytics, they use historical and real-time data to predict future events, enabling proactive measures to avoid disruptions. So coming back to the first one, multiple sources. So in artificial intelligence, is only as good as the sources where they get their historical data from. Streamlined performance monitoring simplifies tracking key metrics and provides actionable insights for informed decision making. This is all opportunities of automated route optimizations. There are also challenges like data reliability. The effectiveness of an AI-generated outcome depends on the quality and timeliness of input data. And Carl mentioned this case in his opening. If the AI does not know that in winter you have ice in certain areas of the Northern Pacific, the AI will just route you there as it always does. So not giving reliable data into an AI program will give you not the desired outcome. And this might result in a lack of trust. Because AI recommendations that conflict with the captain's expertise can reduce trust, especially if the reasoning isn't clear. If the master doesn't understand why he gets this route proposed and not a different one. And there's a low adaptations that users might hesitate to adopt AI solutions if they don't understand or don't trust them. And the human factor in voyage optimization then helps you to overcome this. It provides decision-making support in uncertain scenarios. Humans bring the judgment and the ability to adapt to unpredictable circumstances, which AIs cannot yet do in vessel routing. An interpretation of data. An experienced colleague can easily, from her or his 30, 40-year experience, look at the interpretation of an AI-generated route and give you insights on the context and support a young master. Human factor gives you communication and coordination. The optimization decisions require collaboration between ship and shore. If you have an AI routing and you don't have a person on call and you don't have a 24/7, 365 days support in your routing, so all the time when your vessels are sailing, you have a phone number, you have an email address, a go-to person that looks after your vessel, no matter in which time zone you are. This is what vessels need in uncertain scenarios. You have to look at risk management. Humans excel at risk assessment, identifying and mitigating factors that algorithms might miss. Of course, algorithms become better, but they will only become better from the input that they get. So everything that an AI hasn't seen, it cannot work with. Decision-making should be enhanced by experience. So the experience of captains and the routing experts, the routing analysts, inform better decision-making as they can draw on past events and guide to necessary actions. And last but not least, humans give you a backup in case of system failures. We all know about cybersecurity, technical issues. By the way, this is why I'm sitting in this office today and not in the other one, because here I know that I have a relatively solid and steady internet connection. Humans are essential for manual route planning and execution when technical systems fail. So it's all about combining human and artificial intelligence to create the perfect synergy in voyage optimization, at least over the next years, maybe another 1, 2, 3 decades. But there will always be scenarios where people are grateful for human support rather than just having an AI solution for their voyage optimization. If we look at the technology, data generation, data processing, technology excels at collecting and analyzing vast amounts of real-time data, such as weather forecasts, route optimizations that have been done in the past, compliance monitoring. And all these capabilities of an AI or of machine learning or whatever, these capabilities give humans a foundation of actionable insights to save time, ensuring decisions are based on reliable data. Humans can then make the interpretations and support the decision makings. Humans add value in the judgment. They support you in making informed decisions, balancing cost saving with crew and cargo and safety, adaptability, responding to unforeseen events. And the most important factor, at least to people in my generation, is experience. Using practical knowledge to validate or adjust recommendations provided by the algorithm. So humans and tech combined, it's a dynamic, and it should be, and it should become even more a dynamic interaction. The synergy lies in the feedback loop. Humans fine-tune the technology by providing experiential insights to improve algorithms and software. Technology enhances human efficiency. This is what it definitely does. It's reducing the cognitive load by automating repetitive or complex calculations. And this collaboration between machines and humans enable informed agile responses to both routine operations, but also in crisis, in adverse weather conditions. So always ensuring the optimum performance or response to certain situations. And all this is resulting in enhanced outcomes. It's improving the safety. It's improving the sustainability, and it makes the routing, the voyage, and the voyage optimization more cost efficient. So it is human and tech together that give you the perfect voyage result and the perfect payback. Last but not least, we have one small client case for you. It is about two routes that you see in the upper right corner. It's a green one and the red one. The red one is a southern route suggested by an AI competitor. The northern route was proposed by StormGeo. And the challenge was that a shipping client faced weather conditions with their previous routing provider, AI-based, in the Gulf of Alaska in the mid-voyage. And the captain was seeking consult to a route analyst, and he knew about StormGeo, so he dropped a mail to us and asked us for a more safe and efficient route. So what we did and what all the routing companies who have still people at the ground, we examine then the vessel specification. So what is the loading? What is the draft? What is the trim? What is the ETA? What is the fuel consumption limitations? Whatever. We look at the detailed weather forecast to arrive at next port. And then our route analysts in the US communicated and explained the new plan to the client to ensure alignment. When the master is sitting mid-voyage, he wants people to talk to. He wants support, immediate support, and he wants to be sure, and we want to be sure, that the master goes further with confidence, that he continues his voyage with confidence and not with doubt. So the outcome was a significant saving in time, in distance, and in fuel, a rapid response to a felt critical situation mid-voyage, and last but not least, an increased trust in the process. because we were able to explain to the master even why the AI has chosen might have chosen the other route. So in the end, the master gets more confidence in a hybrid solution, but in the end, he has chosen the route from those people who are able to talk to him. And this is what we also ask you as we come to an end, that if you have any questions now, just reach out. There might be some in the chat. Todd is here to reply them. Thanks a lot for having been our audience today.
Wow, thank you very much, Till. So yeah, if you'd like to stop sharing the screen now, and yeah, so there's already a question from Victor Grosjean. He's asking if you can go a bit more into that case study about I'm just looking up on LinkedIn. I think he's with OceanX in Australia, but he's did you know the details about this one? That why did the AI choose a different route to the, or what was the advantage on the other one that the AI couldn't see? Is that an easy question to answer?
That Todd will do this before.
Sure.
Maybe introduce yourself, Todd, in case people have forgot. So you're a route analyst in Aberdeen, so you do this for a living. You're the guy that gives people advice on a.
Yes, definitely, Carl. Thank you. I stay in Aberdeen right now. I am in charge of 6 route analysts here, but we have 50 route analysts across the world. I've been in charge of training. I believe I'm up to about 20 of the route analysts that we have now. I've trained at one point or another, so I've got quite a bit of an experience on this. I've not handled this specific vessel situation, but it does seem pretty common, the route that we would have chosen versus the AI route that was chosen. It's a very good question, Victor. The major reason may have been, and actually, Till, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen back, if that's okay, back to that slide, because I can go over that with the animation that we had there. That southeastern route may have been chosen to get closer to the center of the high pressure that you'll see once we have that slide. Just go back one slide there.
Oh, screen's gone blank now.
Got to go back one slide. You went forward there.
Went forward.
But yeah, so it's that southeasterly heading on that was probably to get towards the center of the high pressure ridge that you see, and that's that lighter colored, less significant waves. That's what that color fill is on that animation. What we were confident in was that the vessel would be able to maintain the latitude, which reduces distance, while still staying ahead of the weather front that is associated with that storm. And you'll see that in that animation that the vessel stayed ahead of that, where actually by taking that southerly route, while the vessel had some better performance maybe in the near term coming out of the Bering Sea and heading towards that southeasterly heading, by adding that distance, the vessel actually takes some heavier beam conditions on the vessel. So you've got more risk of rolling, and you've got just overall heavier significant waves, about 4 to 5 meters, where on our route you had probably topping out at about 3.5 meter significant waves. So we've got better weather, as well as less distance and fuel saved as well on that. So you'll see that, and I know the vessels look a bit small there, but you can see that on that yellow vessel along the southern route, that vessel just gets tagged by those yellows and oranges, which are 4 to 5 meter waves on that. And on the beam, depending on what kind of cargo the vessel may have been carrying, especially if those were steel coils or something like that, that may be enough to trigger some risks on the master's mind, at least.
Wow. So the master's thinking, well, so why did the master know all this? I guess he could see the weather information as well, could he? And
Yes, he may have seen that as well, and he likely had some software on board showing that there was a storm coming from just south of the Aleutian Islands, which are the southern extent of the Bering Sea, and the storm was going into the Gulf of Alaska, kind of following him up there. And I'm sure there was a bit of concern: am I going to be able to outrun this storm? And when the master was called into our office and sent that email, we reassured him, if you can maintain this latitude, and if you can keep a direct route, you'll have a shorter distance, which will get you ahead of this storm. And in this case, it does look like the master followed that route and had that savings realized.
Oh, very good. I mean, the thoughts all coming into my mind, so that there must be complicated discussions going on in shipping companies about this exact topic, and it's exactly why you've chosen it for the webinar. So somebody's saying, well, AI is much cheaper than paying one of these expensive consultants to do it. So I guess this must be happening, and so I'm giving people kind of finely tuned arguments about why people plus AI can help is very important. But just looking at it here, so AI is normally very good at very discrete things, whereas this example, you had multiple factors put together, which is probably where the
Right.
human, yeah.
And that's exactly it. Is we want to be there to discuss this with the captain and either reassure the captain that the route chosen is the best route, or to make a compromise if the captain says, I am not going with that route, that is too risky for me, and I am the one that pays the price. I've had a captain say that to me at a captain and officer seminar with one of our clients in person. Said, if you're wrong, you are sitting behind a desk. If you're wrong, I pay the price and my crew pays the price. And that is very sobering. So we want to work with them to say, listen, if you're not okay with this route, then please let us at least suggest this route, that this will reduce the weather on you, and it's maybe not the absolute most efficient route, but we can at least realize some efficiencies here compared to the more conservative route that you may want to take.
Well, I've got another question coming here from Subra Singh. I'm just looking up on LinkedIn again.
Yeah, key factors to be considered when looking for weather route partners. Yeah. So I would say you want to look for someone who's got a proven track record with their weather data, and of course the dollar is the biggest thing, or your money savings is the biggest thing as well. Safety, of course, above all others, right? But the next biggest thing is to provide you with as much ROI as possible. You're paying us for a reason. We want to save you carbon emissions. We want to make sure that your crew and or your cargo is safe, but we also want to make sure that we are reducing fuel consumption and higher rates if you're chartering out vessels as well. So you want to look for that company that can provide those proven returns on investment there, and give you examples, concrete examples, as Till gave in his speech there.
And like Todd says, the cost of the routing itself is neglectable compared to the possible outcome. If the routing company can give you routes that avoid areas where you have to pay for your emissions, if the routing brings you in situations where your vessel can run smoother, where you really save money as you sail, that is the real benefit beyond safety again, that gives you the advantage.
Oh, very good. So Isaac Adams is asking for your contact details. I'm sure we can share them afterwards. Sverre Olsen, who's a digital solutions lead with TGS in Oslo, it's a seismic vessel company, is asking, what data sources have you used for training the machine learning models? I mean, you haven't been talking about your own machine learning models, but I guess you must have them as well because they're supporting what you're doing, isn't it? And that's a
Yes, yeah. So we have two global forecasting models that that we use: the European weather model and the American weather model. Those are the two major ones that we use, but we combine that with some in-house learning that we can do, so that if there is a mistake or if we notice a pattern that has happened with multiple hurricanes or multiple storms that are impacting, say, the Bay of Biscay off of France, we want to know next time, can we make this slightly better than what the weather models are? Or can we have slightly better confidence that maybe we need to hold vessels in the English Channel before they walk out into 10-meter waves in the Bay of Biscay, which is the worst weather in the world, probably around this time of year through February.
Wow, there we go. Yes, Siva Sankara Narajanan is an electrician in Kuwait. He was asking about sensor installation on board. I think it's a little bit off topic. I don't know if there's a...
No, not necessarily. It is,
Okay.
How old is your car, Carl?
I don't have a car.
Okay, you don't have a car. And as you said, you also don't have a smartphone, and you are still alive.
That's true.
So many people believe that sensors might heal everything. But keeping sensors alive, keeping sensors adjusted, doing all that, just to find a rolling period of a vessel or a trim or a draft, which sailors were already able to do since, I don't know, 300 before Christ. No, you don't need sensors to get a good and reliable routing. Not yet. Not yet. In autonomous shipping, this might become different, but still today, you don't need sensors.
Oh, so it links to Victor Grosjean's question. Sorry, he's actually with a Sirocco in France, so I guess there's a competitor, I think. But you mentioned a proven track record for weather data. So do you adapt to the best weather model available, or do you use global models? I don't know what the difference is.
Yes, yeah. So there are, of course, going to be regional models that are hyper focused on specific regions, and we do have a different division for our offshore oil and gas, as well as onshore clients for wind turbines, solar panels, all of that, that use more regionalized ones. For example, we have one that's focused specifically on the Gulf of Mexico, and that helps for our other division to forecast for the oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico, especially during hurricane season. That can be understood, right? For shipping, because it is such a global trade, we use the global models as our base and then try to make adjustments from there. That's a very good question, though, Victor. Thank you.
Oh, very good. So Shubhra Singh from Nautilus, what are some prerequisites you require from clients to help them achieve their weather routing goals? I guess you want to know about the type of the ship and what's important to them, is it?
Yeah, it's the setup, and it's an excellent question too, because very often we have kind of incomplete requests that come in. The vessel name and the IMO number is of paramount importance, right? Because if we can take that IMO number, we can go into SeaWeb or some other database and pull all of the other information on that. Is it a handy? Is it a capesize? Is it a tanker? You know, what is it, right? Essentially what we need to know then are kind of just basic information. What port are you starting at? What port would you like us to finish the forecast at? When is the vessel planning to leave, the ETD from that first port? And where would you like us to send the forecast, email address? And most importantly, are there any weather constraints you would like us to consider? And that is crucial, because if you are sailing from Rotterdam to, say, Houston, and there are some vessels that can take 8-meter waves, and the master's okay with that, and the operator's okay with that. And there are some vessels that will do that exact same rotation and can only take up to 4-meter significant waves. And those two routes will look vastly different this time of year in the winter. So the earlier we know that information, the better we can have that communication before the vessel even sails from Rotterdam in this example.
Oh, very good. So we're going to South Korea for our next question. Hwaido Chu from Marine Works. I don't quite understand it. Perhaps you understand it. So if the revision of the route is carried out by AI, are you going to provide any revised risk assessment proofs, like a passage plan to the ship during the voyage?
Yep. So it's a good question. Especially, I'm not able to speak exactly to if AI is revising the route, but for us, the humans that are revising routes, we will provide major waypoints across the ocean. We don't have small scale charts to give you exact waypoints, say near shallows or anything like that along coastal routes, but especially across the ocean, we will say, hey, we would like you to go along this southerly heading to avoid this storm. Please do a run line down to this latitude and longitude, and then continue south of Bermuda, we'll say, and then onward toward the Bahamas. And we'll give those straits and passages to hit there.
Oh, very good. So a question coming up in my mind. So we're not talking about people versus AI. I guess you're using AI at StormGeo, but the AI is giving information to the route analysts, and you're always looking at better ways to improve the AI at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, the best, and I'll be a bit of a weather nerd here. My background is actually mostly in severe thunderstorms in the U.S. And when a weather radar in the U.S. signals that a tornado is possible, only 30% of the time does a tornado actually exist in that. And the human element, both on the ground near those storms and in the weather service offices, are what determine how you issue warnings on that. And that's the similarity here. While those meteorologists are using that tech to see where they need to focus, that's the same for us. Our machine learning will provide a suggested, almost kind of first guess route as to what we should suggest to the master. And then the route analyst will make some tweaks to the route, either basis what we know about that operator, or even sometimes that captain specifically, and say, this operator is not going to accept this risk tolerance. This captain may not accept this risk tolerance. Let's go with this. And this route may only be 1 hour or 2 hours extra sailing time, but we know that the master will go with this. And you're keeping that rapport with the master on that. So it is definitely a tandem work and not an adversarial work.
Yes, question from Steve. I'm not sure if this one's a joke. He's asking about the Bermuda Triangle region. Will you use special models there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's a good one there. No, I can tell you that we have thousands of vessels sail through the Bermuda Triangle every year without incident, and in about 4 weeks I'll be sailing through that on a cruise. So if the Bermuda Triangle exists, then I won't see you, and if it does exist, then I will report back in 5 weeks.
Yeah, very good. Well, what about the gradual evolution of this? So, I mean, I guess you can never predict AI in 20, 30 years, but I mean, I think Till, you said, well, maybe 20 years you wouldn't need people. I mean, it's quite a difficult discussion because we don't know where we're going to be in 20 years, but we don't want to, I don't know, how we, but I suppose we still have people having expertise connecting with AI. That's what we're going to need, whatever happens. People need to understand what the AI is doing in I don't know. Do you want to, any thoughts about how the evolution of this, or I guess maybe that's a.
Sure. Yeah, I think from my experience, and this is nothing against captains on board vessels or anything, the especially crew on board are very slow to adapt to new changes in the industry, right? And AI is that new thing. And so while AI may take more of the decision making out of the route planning and what is being communicated to vessels, humans are there as the backup to explain why the system has selected that route, and we provide that confidence back to say, listen, the AI has done this, and I agree with this, and here is why. And when they're hearing that voice on the phone, and we've got a 24/7, 365 hotline that a captain can call. Just during this webinar, my Ring Central here on the side has gone off 3 times, and my colleagues have answered those calls. So we are there to answer those calls for any kind of concerns that the captain or the crew may have on that. And very often we're able to work out either a compromise or convince the vessel or the master to follow that route.
Wow, very good. So we're going to Gdynia in Poland now. So Dominik Lesniak, he's a naval architect. What's the variance in route optimization suggestions for different vessel performance models being used for optimization? How does the vessel performance model impact the route selection? So we're talking about the vessel performance. I think you sort of touched on this earlier, didn't you? But
yeah, definitely. And that's yep, go ahead, Till. Did you want to
go ahead, Tom.
Okay.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
we do have information on the vessel's performance. So it's a good question where if the say the charter party is that the vessel will sail at 12 knots, right? But we know that the vessel is underperforming. We are taking into account the vessel's performance in addition to what the weather and the ocean currents will impact the vessel on the speed over ground. And that's very important because you don't want to just say, okay, for 12 knots, the vessel will make 284 nautical miles in one day, 12 by 24 hours, right? It will be 284, but minus the weather impacts, minus the ocean current impacts, and minus the performance if the vessel is not a good performer. And we take all of that information into account, and we feel that we can make a better weather forecast for that.
Oh, another question coming to mind. I mean, this kind of, I guess, the financial logic in a shipping company. I mean, if a company says, well, I can have this cheap AI versus spending a lot of money for consultants, and if they think their AI can do it, they'll go for the AI. But then on the other hand, you've got these millions and millions of dollars in a ship. It seems ridiculous to use a cheap computer to work out the route when you can have a person to do it, isn't it? But I suppose it's very hard to get this sort of financial discussion. I suppose is kind of the discussions you're having with your clients, isn't it, at the moment? How to surely with all this money involved, you can afford to have a person giving you advice, but
Sure. It's what I like to say is all it takes is one incident, and then you have an impact on how much cargo did you lose? Heaven forbid, did you lose a life? Did you lose the vessel? And not only what have you lost in either cargo or insurance impacts, anything like that, what has that done to your PR? What has that done if you are a container operator and your vessel dumps 1,000 containers into the Pacific Ocean? How does that look, right? And that's one thing we pride ourselves on here is that we do our absolute utmost to avoid those risks altogether, while still kind of spreading that line to make sure that we're not being so risk averse that we're adding costs on the front end as well. All it takes is one incident, and you can really realize those losses.
yeah, you were telling me the story last week about the ship in Japan. I don't know if you're able to say more live. I mean, that's quite a good story, this one. I think the ship did
Sure.
actually get stuck in ice, wasn't it?
Yep,
Yeah,
definitely. So it was a vessel carrying steel cargo going from Korea to the Panama Canal, and it was around this time of year, maybe early January. Actually, it should be early January, early February, somewhere in that range, where the Soya Strait, which is just north of Hokkaido, Japan, ices in. So there are some concerns with what the AI route recommendation was. That was through that Soya Strait into the Bering Sea and then down towards Panama Canal. Now, a vessel carrying steel is a very sensitive cargo. If the vessel rolls too much, then those the coils and the lashings around those coils can snap, and then think of something, anything coiled up unraveling, right? And then snapping other coils. You can have an absolute mess when the vessel arrives at its final destination in the Gulf of Mexico. So not only did the vessel get into the ice and get stuck into the ice off of Soya Strait, but even into the Bering Sea, at some point when you start coming down, you have no land to protect you from the Bering Sea downward off until you're off the coast of California and off the coast of Mexico. Essentially, in the wintertime, this AI was expecting 6 days of good weather in the wintertime. And that may have looked good when the vessel was off of Korea, but I will tell you with experience, that is almost unheard of, to have 6 days of good weather in the open North Pacific in the wintertime. The vessel would have at least taken one very bad storm. And the potential is that maybe for that onward part of the concerned part of the route, it could be that the vessel's constraints were not effectively communicated to the AI operator, the AI provider, but that getting into the ice that would not have been something that we would have chosen. We would have sailed the vessel south of Japan because of that sensitive cargo. There was no business with the vessel having gone north of Japan on that. And unfortunately, the captain is the one, as he said, who pays the price? It's me who pays the price on board.
Oh, very good. So we've got a question coming in here from John Key, who's a maritime consultant in London, formerly transformation and director with Associated British Ports. It's a very, very big question.
Yeah.
When you're basically asking when will AI be fixed.
It's a great question.
Oh,
it's a great question. And John, even though I can't see you now, but you have been using AI. So you may do us all a favor and just copy these questions that you have here, put it in your ChatGPT or wherever you got the AI from, and then share the answer with us. I mean, this would really be of interest to all of us. There's so much going on in the discussions around AI, and this question that you have put down here. It's marvelous because we hear it every day in our private life, in our business life. I don't have access to all these AI tools, but if you have, put the question in there and let's share the answer.
Wow, I've been reading this book, AI Snake Oil, which goes into this stuff in great depth. So one example it had was an AI can predict where you're going to have an earthquake, but it can't predict when you're going to have an earthquake. It's completely different prediction. So you've got to understand the computer's capability and the questions. So this question here, I think it's a little bit of a sales pitch from Sirocco. So I'm not sure if we're going to, maybe we'll miss the first half of this. But as I understand it, StormGeo, you mainly use data available from registers. No, I'm not sure where this is going. I'm surprised you're able to have a good protection. Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe take that one offline. I think it's just a. There we go. And you've got John Key has given the. He's put it into ChatGPT. Scroll down a little bit further there. There's a probabilistic nature of AI, limited context, data biases and gaps, over-interpretation of ambiguity. So ChatGPT gave a very good answer as to why it's got gaps in its. But it still doesn't get us any closer to. But I don't think we need to know when AI will be able to run the world, because it's a long way from it now, and we can't see. The point is to understand what it can do, not what it's going to be able to do in the future, I suppose, isn't it?
We have one of the folks that trained me years ago has a great line for something like this. I'm just a caveman. New things frighten and confuse me.
Oh, yeah. There we go. We've got another one here. Generative AI artifacts.
I think that's just a continuation of ChatGPT's answer.
Yes, ChatGPT style. There's. Yeah. I mean, StormGeo is working on AI models all the time. I mean, there's so many attributes. That's the. I mean, I think it's like a second slide. We just showed how many factors are taken into account while. And just with that example you had, you had to understand the movement of the weather simultaneously as understanding the speed of the ship and the risks of the vessel not having the speed it thought it would have. I mean, people are much better than machines at understanding multiple attributes at once. That's my theory. Seems like
Absolutely. It's the amount of data, and when I'm doing training on people, I say you're about to look at our internal system, and there is so much data you're going to see. Please do not have analysis paralysis. You will, but just know that you have to look at our top bar has the type of cargo. Is there cargo under deck? Cargo on top of deck, which is always going to be sensitive, right, to any elements of spray reaching over the vessel, and then potentially spilling over onto the ocean, right? But then the vessel's performance, we have the speed that the operator wants the vessel to sail on, what the size of the ship is, what type of ship is it bulk carrier? Is it a dry cargo? Is it an oil tanker? Is it a ro-ro carrier? Anything like that. Is it a yacht, right? Anything like that is going to have complete consideration when we're routing a vessel.
Yeah. Well, what are the skills your route analysts have? I mean, are they ex-captains or ex-meteorologists or both?
So, yep. So I'm a meteorologist. I'd say about 70% are meteorologists. Maybe not the balance, but say another 20% are former seafarers. and the final 10% have tangential degrees, oceanography, geography, things like that are going to help with making decisions as to what street should we use to get you through all of that. But we have a very strong in-house training segment as well. Even folks that are not meteorologists, we have a training course that is run by our other division for offshore oil rigs, where they have to have a forecaster on board, or I'm sorry, a weather observer on board. So even someone who comes into our department who does not have meteorology training, we put them into that course, that week-long course. And that way they have the basics of meteorology, and then we start them on the path for a route analyst, yes.
Wow. And it's a discussion, I suppose, with the different people that gets all the value, I suppose. And you've got different perspectives, and the people respect each other enough to they can
Definitely. Absolutely. You learn off each other. When I started, I had no knowledge about ships. In fact, the joke that I make is when I went to university, I took every elective I could in meteorology except for tropical meteorology and oceanography. And the two things that I use most in my work right now is tropical meteorology for typhoons and hurricanes, and oceanography. But I had all of the weather knowledge, but I had none of the maritime knowledge. And I was hired at the same time as someone who graduated from the New York Maritime Academy, and he has all the knowledge on ships, but he had no meteorology knowledge. And for that first year, we just learned off each other, and I think it made us both better for it. And then the two of us became two of the more predominant trainers in there. So we've bestowed that knowledge to quite a few others in our departments.
Oh, very good. Well, we've got about 5 minutes left. I mean, one thing you haven't done, Till, is given a sales pitch for StormGeo. Maybe you want to take that in the last 5 minutes. I mean, what would you like people to do? So I guess if you want a route managed by.
I'm personally not the vacuum cleaner sales guy, but I prefer to convince people by what we are able to provide, what service we are providing, explaining why we are sticking to this hybrid of AI and people behind it, that it's of vast importance. We look at safety. We talked about the cost of a voyage. We talked about all that, but we also have to see that the vessels are getting bigger. The value of the ship itself and its cargo, it is far more than it used to be 20, 30, 40 years ago on one hand. On the other hand, how many people are still going to sea? What is the prestigious in being a sailor? And it gets more and more difficult to get new people on board of the ships, and therefore you have less experience on board of the vessels. You don't have these 60-year-old chief mates anymore, or 60-year-old second mates who can explain you every weather, every sailing condition, every this and that. And this is why today's crews and also even superintendent and operators are relying on knowledge of companies like StormGeo rather than going to AI routing companies. They know that the cost, like Todd said, it's this one incident. And where is the difference between a 4-digit number in routing or a 3-digit number in routing? It is less than a dinner. So simply consider what you are doing, how much value you put into this voyage optimization, and then come back and say, I don't need the AI. I will monitor what the AI is providing to me and to my ship, but I will stay with the people who have an understanding for the value of my asset and the cargo that it's transporting. And then the people will automatically come to us.
Yeah, that's a differentiator of StormGeo from competitors if you've chosen to have all these route analysts, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, well, that's very good. I think that's a very strong message, and I think you put it across very well. And I Yeah, very good. Well, that's the end of the webinar. So we'll send people the contact details afterwards. And thank you very much. That's a great story. And I shall pass back to Farah for the closing words. Cheers.
And I would like, by the way, I would like to thank these 3 clients who have, as we just spoke, because you saw that I had to check my mails. We got 3 requests for route advice while we did this webinar.
Very nice.
So
Thank you very much.
Also for itself. Huh? Thanks a million, and
I'll go to
happy
Farah
festive season to everybody.
now.
And while you have your gingerbread, always remember, where's it coming from? It came by vessel, and it was brought to you by sailors who are out there in every weather and get the best routing from StormGeo. Thanks a lot.
We'd like to thank Till Braun, Todd Lunwitz, and StormGeo for joining us today, and to all our viewers. If you have any more questions, we'll be sending you contact details soon, plus a link to a recording of this webinar on our YouTube channel. Join us this Thursday for our next webinar with Coach Solutions. Check it out on our website and book your tickets. See you soon.
Well, bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.